Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden. Thank you so much for joining me. And this is the social edition of Shifting Perspectives. And earlier today, I did a video where I basically had this massive looking inward, shifting everything from the individual over to now everything I just learned. Let's apply it in social settings. Ironically, not ironically, I manifested the shit. About an hour later, I received a phone call from a very old friend of mine. Now, in my world, very means since 2020. I have nothing left prior to 2020. Literally everything in my life prior to 2020 is gone. So this is somebody who I met in the year 2020, actually. So that for me is an old friend. And we lost touch because we both kind of did our inward thing. We grew, and out of the blue, not out of the blue, I manifested this. He called me. And we sat down. It was actually, I want to talk about the manifestation of this. He goes, I don't know what it was. He goes, something just popped in my head this morning. And I went, I need to follow up with Anna. I haven't talked to her in a year. I need to reach out. And I went, so yesterday I manifested, I want all of my friends who are aligned to me to contact me. That was my manifestation. And here he is like, I just had this feeling, this thing in me that said I needed to call you. Yes, that was your little thread that was attached to me. And I went ding, 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 ding. So of course you're calling me. So we were able to go back and revisit friendships, social situations, and the basic interaction with people. And we're both in the lifestyle. We're both BDSMers. So we were able to really sit down and reflect on that lifestyle as well. And it was eye-opening. I was explaining to him the work I was doing, and I'm going to be meeting with him on Friday to reconnect. And I'm just so excited because it was just this massive, solid, this is the next stage of your life. It has officially begun. We are now in the field research department where everything you've done inward is now going to be outward, and you're going to apply it in social settings here henceforth. I like the word henceforth. We're going to apply this in social settings henceforth, and you are going to explore and learn about how triadic healing can be implemented in all social situations. So this is what I'm doing. I am going to be creating this syllabus as I put it together. And as I record videos, I'm going to put the videos into the syllabus. So if you are coming into this late, instead of you just playing through all of my videos in a hodgepodge nightmare, you'll actually be able to follow the syllabus as I build it, which is really, really convenient because when it's done, I don't have to go back and say, I have to redo this like I'm doing with the first part. So this is Shifting Perspectives Part 2. This is Triadic Healing Part 2. There is going to be a Part 3. That's going to be the romantic edition. But for now, we're going to do, so it's Triadic Healing Part 1, the individual edition. And then Part 2 is going to be the social situation. And I've already, it's all coming together. And I'm just so excited. I'm really, really excited. And of course, it's me. So I am going to exhaust this topic. I'm going to leave no stone unturned. So I'm going to start by creating a page. And this is going to be on my website. So when you do Triadic Healing, I'm going to set it up so that you really cannot skip Part 1. You cannot go right into Part 2. Do not skip Part 2. Like, oh my God, that would just not, how do I explain it? And I see this happen all the time with therapy where people will go to therapy and they'll want to fix their partner. They'll want to fix their relationship, but they won't do any of their own work. And when they're told, you have to do your own work, they fight you and then they don't do the work and they just focus completely on the relationship, and the relationship crumbles. Or a lot of what we see is people half-ass their own work while focusing entirely on their partner's work. And that is equivalent to doing Triadic Healing Part 2 without bothering with any of the work for Part 1. And that is something that, it's interesting, basically. It's interesting how it's all coming together. So this is literally a syllabus. And I got to think here that it's going to be the social syllabus for applying this. And I'm going to be covering everything from friendships after 30, like how to make friends. And then there's a question that I put out there is this is a post I wrote, and it's down below on this thing. You can take a look at it. This is what I wrote. Current work in progress is I'm doing a social study right now where I'm applying my work to adult social settings to determine the correct way to integrate what trust, vulnerability, open-mindedness with people while being perfectly authentic. That's a really long sentence. I'm going to shorten this here. It's to determine the correct way to integrate what trust, vulnerability, open-mindedness with people while being imperfectly authentic. so that a proper and healthy and honest connection can be made. Honest connections. That is the problem right there. And that is something I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. And that's going to be part of this is honest connections. How many of us make dishonest connections with people who are in essence strangers? And when they violate our trust, we lash out and scream, well, people hurt me. Or do they? Do they? Do you give a stranger a level 10 trust action before ensuring they are even safe enough to trust? And the answer to that is yes, a lot of people actually do this. And I'm going to be breaking it down what a level 10 trust action is. Let me see here. And then I have, are you so driven and blinded by pure social deprivation that you jumped in and trusted the first person you came across, desperate to connect with anything? And again, the answer in most cases is yes, that is what happens a lot, is our social deprivation, our need to connect is so depleted that we can't even function logically. And we're driven by this desperation. It's like you have somebody who just came out of the desert, they're famished, they are dehydrated, they just want water. They're not going to be thinking clearly. So they grab the first thing that they can think of because, and this is the catch 22. It's absolutely a catch 22. How do you set aside the social deprivation so you can get in and trust people properly? How do you do this? And I'm going to be covering that. We're going to be going over all of that. Do you even know how to connect with someone? Can you describe the feeling of connecting with someone? How does an individual connect with another human being? Do you know the answer? And this is not an opinion. This is behavioral science. This is absolutely a philosophical science. It's it's a formula. There's really, that's it. It's a formula, and people don't know what the formula is. And then I wrote think. How does an individual successfully and safely connect with another human being? And I'm going to be breaking down the process. I'm going to be breaking down the science of this. I'm going to be showing you basically where it all goes wrong and how to fix it, how to get yourself out of this and get yourself set on the right track. So I'm going to have shifting perspectives where I do the full triadic healing course in a summation. I'm going to be doing the part 2, which is going to be the triadic healing for social settings. And this covers everything from how to interact and socialize with your parents, with friends, with strangers, with going to a bar or a cocktail situation where you're socializing on that front, how to interact with children, your children. It's all of it. It is absolutely one-on-one how to implement triadic healing into your social life. And I think that covers everything, but I'm eager to dive right into this. I'm very, very excited about this because this is something I have been, now that I'm digging at it, I'm starting to see how I can pull from all of these different sources in my head, and I'm putting them all down, and I'm going, okay, I could definitely see where this connects. And it basically comes into a vulnerability trust exchange. And that's it right there. It's a vulnerability trust to connection, vulnerability to trust to connection. And what's happening in that circumstance is you basically, in order to connect with someone, you have to give them your vulnerability. What you have to give them is your authentic self. You have to be authentic with them. And that's not what we're doing. We're giving them a piece of our masks. So when you want to connect with someone, you need to give them a piece of your actual vulnerability, a piece of you. And you're supposed to give them something like a level 1, something that you can say to them that is honest, so you can assess their behavior to determine, is this person safe to give more information to? And you want to build on that. The problem is you have to know how to read the red flags, basically. You have to look for the red flags. You have to determine how a person is, and you can't rush it. Patience is absolutely key here. And for me, in my mind, I have 2 years. I am huge on whenever you start a friendship, don't expect anything for 2 years. Whenever you start anything, it takes 2 years for that seed to grow. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of patience, but it's going to tell you a lot about that person's character. And These are relationships that I planted seeds for back in 2020 and 2021. Now, here it is 2023, and I'm starting to see now what these relationships and friendships are developing into. I'm starting to notice there's massive layers of intimacy and depth that they're platonic, but they're intimate. And it's all because I'm gonna say this. It's platonic intimacy. And it is an extraordinary thing that most people, no one knows it exists. It's platonic intimacy. Platonic intimacy is when you are vulnerable and intimate with somebody and you feel safe and you are close to them, but it's still a platonic relationship. It's still they're just friends. And you get to that point where you start to feel like, hey, I can open up to this person. I now know them enough and they know enough about me that I can now drop my guard and I can give them the next level of me, level 5, level 6, level 7. And when that happens, you can start to see how they'll respond and react. These are now people who you can drink around, how you can do drugs around, like marijuana, something vulnerable to like drop your guard. It's now safe to expose yourself to these people. But that's not what we're doing. In most cases, we are doing this with strangers. Now, I'm going to like go back to my partner here because this is a great example. I met my partner and we talked for 2 weeks. And then we were in a full serious relationship. And then we lived together for we partially lived together for a year and then we lived together for another year. And it was now and then we separated and now we're doing the whole let's go do our shadow work shit. And as we're doing that now, we are in this different place. And it's this realization over the last week, even where he and I have sat down and we've gone, oh, this is like a whole nother level of intimacy that neither one of us has ever experienced before. And I lived with my second husband for 12 years. And that second husband, that person, I'd been friends with him since I was 12 years old. 28 years of a friendship. Now, of those 28 years, 10 years we were not in contact. So 18 years of a friendship. And he never, ever allowed anyone in. There was never any vulnerability exchanged. As a result, it never was intimate. There was never any intimacy with him. And that's the cold that we feel. That's the distance that we feel. But these are words that we're not articulating. We're not putting them into images or anything because we don't understand them. And we're not understanding them because there is a level of relationship that you don't get until you pass certain milestones. But it requires the work. And it's work that no one is willing to put forth for the most part. And what's happening is when you combine this with prosthetic living, when you combine this with a societal expectation that you're wearing, none of this is even accessible. You only get this when you are both imperfectly authentic. And that's it. We have a world that is completely composed of these social expectations and wearing the perfect Venusian mask. And so no one's connecting on anything deep. No one is able to connect. You've got these subconscious connectors in your head. And you'll meet somebody, you'll see plenty of seeds, you'll throw seeds all over, but no one knows how to germinate the seeds. You know how to throw the seeds out there, and you're going, okay, but nothing seems to catch. Oh yeah, I met with someone. We went to the bar, we had a great time, and then I hear nothing. What's going on? I just met somebody. It looks like it's going on girl. So many people tell me these stories where they meet somebody, they talk to somebody, and that it's nothing. And it's just they have total lack of human connection. And then they never hear from these people again. And then it just becomes the norm of, yeah, people go away. You can't hold on to people. Just people are destined to walk away from you. And that becomes the societal norm. And then we start to manifest it because we project our own loss and our own hurt into our manifestation. I'm going to write that down. Do you project your hurt into your manifestations? So that's something to consider. And that's what happens over and over again with these social situations. You'll plant a seed and then you'll be like, why don't I have a tree? I just planted it yesterday. You'll plant another seed and you'll be like, I don't understand it. I planted this tree 6 months ago and all I have is a twig. Like your expectations for socials are not where they need to be. Understanding how long an actual friendship takes is you need to understand the process first. You need to understand how to germinate that seed, how to cultivate it. And it basically, you require X amount of hours. It is literally X amount of hours. But it's not just the time frame, it's not just the X amount of hours put into it. You're also going to need milestones that you hit. And over the next few months, I'm going to be exploring all of those milestones, documenting what I find, pulling it from traumatic healing, and applying it and showing you how it comes. I am so excited. I'm very excited. So basically, I did plant a whole lot of seeds over the last 2 years. And now I went through I needed to go isolate, withdraw, and shut down. And now it's time for me to go back into these social settings, reconnect with people. And now I know what to look for. I know how to connect with people. Reciprocity is going to be huge that we talk about. Reciprocity is a huge part of this. And that is a huge, huge part of it. So like last night I was at, it was so funny. I met, well, person A and then person A, and he's a friend of mine. We've been friends for 2 years. And he introduced me to someone. And it came up, he said, but that's not my real name. And I had no idea. I was like, that's not your real name. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, that's not my real name. And he went, that's not your real name. And apparently they'd known each other. And he's like, that's not your real name. And she's like, no, I didn't know that was your real name. And I went, well, it's okay. My real name isn't Anna. And they both looked at me like, your name isn't Anna. And we found out that all three of us had given fake names. And we had been giving fake names for years. It's a New York City thing. It's very much a New York City thing. We call them chosen names here. And it was this, and my friend was the first to open up and he's like, this is my real name. And I was like, oh. So I told him my real name and he loved it. He's like, oh my God. I'm like, no, we're not going to call me that. And it was like this, you look at the person and you're trying to imagine the name around them. And it's like, that's who you really are. Is it who you really are? Or is it who your parents said you had to be? It was so fascinating to watch this. And same thing with this woman where, well, she did not give her name because she was not yet in that circle of trust where he and I were, but she was like, she had just met me. So she did not feel comfortable yet to give her name, if she ever will be, and that's fine. But that's it right there. And it's funny because my partner's name is also not his real name. And it's one of those things where it's a level of intimacy to know a person's real name here. So it was, and from there, it was like this open conversation where we were able to just like really indulge in our thoughts and our perspectives. And it was I could feel the connection. It was like, oh, there it is. There it is. And so I'm sitting here like documenting it all down and making notes of it. So I'm going to be filling my calendar from now on, and I'm going to be going out, socializing, and basically nurturing connections with people and getting back out there again. And it's something I absolutely want to do with everybody, strangers. I want to meet new people. Like that's where I'm at, is I'm really ready to get out there and meet new people and start applying this and going through it. I'm very, very excited. So as I research it, I'm going to do the videos here, and then I'm going to go in, I'm going to write up the syllabus and compose it. And then I'm going to plug in the video to the syllabus so you can go through and just connect. And that's it, really. I'm very, very excited about this. So thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you. Oh, and of course, like, subscribe, follow, comment below. Let me know what part of this video absolutely resonated with you. And take a look at, you can look at the syllabuses. You can grab any of the work with Get Started for Triadic Healing. Grab the link below and then take a look at the field trips, because the field trips are awesome. All right. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.